What happens when the so-called villain is the one that you're rooting for? Today we're going to dive deep into The Shadows Between Us by Tricia Levenseller. Hi and welcome back to my channel. My name is Wendy and this is my soul shelf. So today we're going to be discussing The Shadows Between Us by Tricia Levenseller. This book is a YA romantasy and also has been called a Slytherin romance. It has slow burn and it is enemies to lovers trope and it is only 333 pages. This YA romantasy follows Alessandra, and Alessandra is a very ambitious girl. So what is this YA fantasy romantasy about? Well, it follows Alessandra, a girl who plans to marry and court the king and kill him to basically become queen and rule. However, the longer she's near him, the longer she spends time with him, feelings change, and Alessandra learned very quickly that she likes him. The more she spent time with him, I felt that her scheming just escalated. And on top of that, this book starts off with murder, and she is a very morally gray character, and I think I like that about this book. I think it brings a new depthness into what I read, and I enjoyed it. She's more of the character of, you break my heart and I'll murder you. This isn't like your typical soft romance and, oh, I fell in love. No, this is like high stakes scheming and everything in between. And she's not the only morally gray character. The king is as well. So you have two morally gray characters finding their way to each other, finding their way to love. It's dark, but also mysteriously fun. I felt that this book gave me like Bridgerton vibes, but not exactly Bridgerton vibes. It's more like Bridgerton with a little bit of murder on the side and a little bit of scheming. This book literally made me think about my moral compass as a whole. Like, I'm rooting for a murderer, which is Alessandra. I am rooting for just this character that is imperfect, but perfect in the right ways. I felt like this book was more strategy than a soulmate kind of vibe, and that's what kept me turning pages at night. So in this story, Alessandra is very promiscuous. In that time, they frowned upon women who weren't virgins, and so she had to cover up for everything. She had to cover up her footprints of who she had slept with and try to romance this prince and get his throne. The plot definitely kept me engaging the whole time. So in the story, the king's name is Callias, and Callias's parents had passed away, so he kept everyone at a distance, 5 feet to be exact. Yeah, 5 feet. It's like COVID all over again. But Alessandra, with her charm and her you can't get me attitude, definitely won him over time. He kept everyone at a distance because, well, his parents were murdered and he's trying to find out who the killers were and who in his court was the betrayal from. And that's where this story takes so many turns and so many twists, and it just kept me going and it kept me reading. As far as the romance and spice in this book, I feel like I should give this maybe a 1 jalapeno for spice. It wasn't anything crazy. It was like, oh yeah, they made it home, like from first base, but nothing really explicit. I think that the romance was well built. They became enemies to lovers. They started off hating each other and then very quickly learned that they loved each other and they are one and the same. The romance was also very slow burn. Like it just gave you a drip here, and then all of a sudden it's like, yes. What I loved about this book is that Alessandra is unapologetically herself. She doesn't pretend to be the good girl. She's in fact the opposite, and she has a sister, and this sister is very much of the good girl, pleasing her dad and, you know, just trying to appease everybody around her and seem sweet and nice. But Alessandra's like, scratch that. I want to be who I am, and this is who I am, and I'm not gonna apologize for it. The banter and chemistry from the king himself, Callias, was very sharp and just entertaining. In a sense, Alessandra and Callias are equals in every way, so it just made it more entertaining to watch, or should I say read? But in my imagination, I'm watching as I read. I don't know if anybody else has this thing where you have to envision and imagine the book in your brain. I don't know. But the pace did keep me engaged the whole time, and on top of that, there was just gossip everywhere, which is why I said it reminded me of Bridgerton, because she does find some friends and she's kind of like, let's have some tea, let's knit, let's do something, girls, and this is how she gets her information. And I love that about the book. I gave this book 4 stars. The reason why it didn't hit all the way home for me is because I wanted more world building. I felt like I was just constricted to the palace and, you know, where Alessandra and her dad and her sister lived. And I wanted more world building. It said that the king had conquered how many places and cities and kingdoms, and I didn't get any of that. I just got the here and now, not the extent of how much he conquered. I don't know, it just felt kind of bland in that sense. This book felt like it was just holding space for romance and no world building. The plot twists were fun, but I kind of predicted some of them. Also, I felt like the king exuded, yes, power, but not to the power of dominating different other kingdoms. I felt like he was maybe a little soft, in my opinion. And I think what was disappointing was, yeah, she murdered someone, but, you know, the whole secret blew up and it was like, okay, there's no consequences. Like, she never faces the consequences of her actions. So my emotional take on this, it wasn't like an emotional book where, you know, you're crying or devastated, or there wasn't really any deep healing with the book except to be your authentic self. For me, it was just pure indulgence, and I loved a different arc of reading something other than having a moral character, I guess you can say. I enjoyed the morally gray characters in this book. Like, this book made me root for someone who was cunning and clever as Alessandra, and I didn't think she needed a redemption arc at all. She is who she is unapologetically. So yes, be your authentic self, be who you are unapologetically is what I got from this book. And I think that's a good message to keep and to live by. So if you love morally gray leads, sharp banter, and a romance that's more about power than love itself, this can be the book for you. So let me know in the comments, would you root for someone like Alessandra or want to see her fall? Don't forget to like and subscribe to check out my other videos and keep these book reviews going. And let me know in the comments if you've read this book and what do you think. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time.